So what happens when we actually eat a carbohydrate, or any food for that matter? Can you all read this? I'm not sure how well it's going to come out on the slide. So this is an artist's rendering of the pancreas. This is supposed to be the bloodstream, although I've never seen a blood vessel that straight. All these little blue things, that's glucose or sugar molecules. This is a representation of a muscle. This is the liver, that's a fat cell. Obviously not to scale, right? If your liver is that much smaller than your pancreas, this is a big problem. And come on, if your muscles are that much smaller than your liver, lift something. When you eat, blood sugar rises. Doesn't matter what you eat. If you eat, blood sugar levels rise. Well, when they rise high enough, the pancreas is stimulated to secrete the hormone insulin into the bloodstream. Now, insulin is an extremely important hormone. Amongst its many functions, one of its responsibilities is to take some of this extra glucose out of the bloodstream and take it to the muscles and to the liver and store them as something called glycogen. It's just a storage form of glucose, just like you might store water as ice. It's just a storage form of glucose, but that storage capacity is only so large. So if you have enough extra, then some of it's going to get converted to fatty acids and get stored in the fat cells. Is that the end of the story? You ate a little bit more than you needed, so it got deposited elsewhere. Does it stay there forever? No way. If it feels like it sometimes. But no way, because if it did, no one would ever lose fat. But that's not the case. Because when blood sugar drops enough, because we're periodic eaters, right? We don't live like hummingbirds. We don't eat and move, eat and move, eat and move until we die. Although it kind of feels like that. In America, it's more like eat, 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 eat. Somewhere in there was one movement. Blood sugar levels drop, so the pancreas is stimulated to secrete the hormone glucagon into the bloodstream. Glucagon's job is to go over to the liver and knock on the door. Hey, we don't have enough guys on the team. Can you come back out and play? It retrieves glucose from storage so the body has a chance to take advantage of it. And at the same time, the adrenal glands are stimulated to secrete the hormones epinephrine and norepinephrine. You're more familiar with the term adrenaline probably. These stress hormones go over to the fat cells and ask for some fat to come out and play. So the blood sugar levels and fat levels in the bloodstream rise again so that we supply energy again until the next time we eat. And then blood sugar rises and we start all over. So we can eat and store and retrieve. And man, we are excellent creatures for doing that. We have a tremendous ability to store. And we actually have just as good an ability to retrieve. Storage just happens faster. Now, if we lived like my great-grandparents lived on the farm with no electricity, no basically anything, you think they had a body fat problem? When Grandpa wanted to feed the family some meat, but he didn't have enough cows, what did he have to do? Yeah, he had to sling that old rifle across his shoulder, and I have my grandpa's rifle. It wasn't that accurate. And he had to go out running off across the countryside and take something down and do all those things you have to do to bring it back and turn it into food. Meanwhile, what's Grandma doing? Great-grandma. She's doing the laundry. She just chuck some stuff in the laundry machine and go watch Oprah. Wow, that was a bad stereotype. Sorry about that. But you know what I mean. Just sit down on the couch while something else does the work. No way. She had to go to the well and retrieve the water, and that was multiple trips. And she had to chop the firewood to heat the water because, in the middle of winter, who wants to wash with ice? And then the washboard. Remember that washboard thing that nobody remembers what it is, but we all want a stomach that looks like it? This was just one chore out of the day. We didn't have a body fat problem. That was just 120 years ago. Well, not quite that long ago. Is that evolution? Have our genetics changed that much in that short a period of time? No, we don't move. We got these things. We got electric lights. We didn't have to chop firewood and light a fire so we could see each other. All right, so how much carbs is enough? Somewhere between 45 and 75% of your total caloric intake from carbohydrates. Most people, right about 55% is a good plan. If you like round numbers, 60% works really well. Right about 60% of your calories coming from carbohydrates. Now what kind of carbs? Should you eat all of these from, bonbons? How about Otter Pops? Well, obviously you should eat unprocessed, nutrient-rich foods, right? You should try to get a lot of vegetables, some starch. You definitely need some starch in there, whether that's, brown rice or yams or, the occasional russet potato, whatever it is that you like, just don't go overboard. Remember that whole portion thing that I was talking about on the plate? I want you to keep that visual in your head. How much space should it take up on your plate? Not very much. Remember that half of the plate I was talking about being high fiber vegetation and the other half being divided into thirds, 1/3 your protein source. If you're going to have a starch source, one of those other thirds should be your starch source. And think about leaving that other third empty. A little division between your food. It's a little segregated. So that's allowing space for the calories from whatever fat you're going to put on the vegetables or put on the starch or is in the meat. You're going to have those calories from somewhere. All right, now we talked about what those exceptions are about.